Welcome to our Posh podcast. I'm Gabrielle. I'm your host with my daughter, Marcella.
Hello.
And today, my amazing husband, Patrick, is with us, and
Woo-hoo.
he's our co-host today. Bernie couldn't make it, so I thought I'll ask Patrick.
Awesome.
And Spider, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We need a birthday song for you or something.
Oh, that's not it. Listen.
Yeah. Happy birthday.
That's just my theme song in general.
Exactly.
I love
We
it.
love it.
Right on it.
Those shows are always the best ones when you start us out with that one.
Well, I've already started drinking whiskey today, so by the next show we'll
Nice.
be partying.
And we have more too over there.
Yeah.
Y'all are pushers.
We're good
Enablers.
influences.
Yeah. We haven't done that in a long time. I haven't brought the cups in a long time. So we're going back to
We
that.
weren't even allowed by insurance to have any kind of alcohol or anything in here for about almost 3 months, I think.
Why?
COVID.
It was just part of their whole
Really?
deal, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm glad that's not like that anymore.
The virus knows you're drunk and really goes after you.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to tell everyone, thank you so much for listening. Our listening numbers are up every week, so
Yeah.
that's exciting. And I wanted to ask everyone, please follow us on all our social media handles and like YouTube. We also have a TikTok channel now and Instagram. We're updating those daily, Facebook, and then the podcast on all podcast handles. And we love when people interact with us, especially when we ask the questions. Those are really fun.
Yes.
And write to us, tell us what you think, subscribe, the most important part for us to know that we're doing the right thing, and it's free, so it doesn't hurt. So just subscribe, leave us reviews. And today's show, we're going to continue our pre-marriage checklist.
It's gonna be weird without Bernie arguing with me now.
It's going to be weird, but I think Patrick will do a good job with all this today.
I feel like Patrick thinks more like we do sometimes.
Yeah, but you don't know what
That's
the
true.
topic is yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell this story real quick. Again, when we did the pre-marriage checklist, I thought it was going to be maybe a 2-part show. And then it turns out that each and every point just has so much, we have so much to say about it. So we're making lots of parts. And when I found out that Patrick's going to be co-hosting today, and then I looked, and part 4 of the pre-marriage checklist, interesting enough, is handling finances.
Oh,
and
God.
I was like, ooh.
Marcella lost interest immediately.
Yeah.
Who
Boring.
better, but who better to be here than Patrick for this one? Because
true.
he's so good with finances. And in our family, I'm just so glad he handles it all, because I'm not good at it at all. So
As long as it's not just spending.
yeah, I'm really good at that. But handling finances includes money, debt, and finances that are really important things to talk about before marriage. I think it's probably maybe one of the most important things to talk about.
Well, they say it's the number one reason for divorce is finance.
Finances.
I can see that.
Yeah. So the first point of it you should ask is, how do you feel about debt? That's the first question.
How do I feel about that?
That's what you have to pretend you're in a situation where you're before marriage, and then you have to have this conversation with your other.
Well, I would think that
Significant
nobody
other.
wants to handle somebody else's debt issue.
Hell no.
You know, I feel like I've heard that before. Usually guys have to handle the girl's debt issue.
Well, generally, it's most people kind of get serious with someone before they even realize
Right.
if there is a bunch of debt. And when you find out you're so far along, now it's not really a deal breaker. So now you just have to figure out a way to work through it, in my opinion.
Well, because you don't really go on a date and say, like,
Right.
what are your finances?
By the way, I'm way, way in the hole with my money right now.
Or you don't ask. I would never ask
Right.
somebody, how much money do you make and are you in debt?
Yeah.
I think it would,
Awkward.
for me, it would depend on how they got into that debt. Is it student loans? No big deal.
True.
You know, but if they actively got their way into that debt on their own, spending whatever habits they had, then that's a different deal.
That's true.
Well, student loans, a lot of people go into debt with those because they do use it for everything other than
Right.
school. So it's kind of a same animal. Debt's debt, no matter where it comes from or how it gets there. You just have to learn how to manage it properly.
Oh, that's why I don't have a credit card.
I don't mean neither.
I don't either.
It scares me.
Number 2, would you share all money with your spouse or split the money into different accounts?
Me personally, I have my own bank accounts that you just have access to whatever you need. That's how I do it. I know there's a lot of families, a lot of married couples that literally split everything. They don't split anything. It's his money and her money, period. And that's it.
No, I'm not doing that.
I always feel like that's just going to cause problems.
For sure. I do think a girl has to have some just in case a guy like leaves her with nothing. But I guess that's not something you talk about before you get married.
That's something my mom always believed in, and she always told me to do that. But I am not that big of a believer in it, because I do feel when you are married, like you're supposed to be trusting each other, and
right. But then that goes back to, who are you marrying in? Are you marrying for the right reasons? Are you rushing into it? Are you settling? That's a whole another can of worms that people don't think about prior to making that big decision of tying our lives together.
Well, I think you definitely have to talk about it, because if they want to split everything, I'll be like, no, thanks.
But most people never talk about it till it's too late.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're just basically going off of emotion.
Exactly.
Not really thinking about
There's
it.
no logic. It's just feeling.
Maybe
True.
that's why I've never been married.
Everyone knows
have a
that you
logical
never make
moment.
big decisions.
you have what?
A logical moment.
Everyone knows that you never make a big decision based on emotion. It never ends well.
Yeah, I heard good or bad.
Good or
Yeah,
bad.
exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
What are your views on saving money?
We know Patrick's view.
I mean, for a long time, I didn't have any views on it. I was like most people. I spent more than I made, and I did it for years and years and years. But then I got to the point where, the old saying, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And a lot of that had to do with finances. So I just started learning that my whole philosophy when me and Gabrielle first got together was, don't argue about the money, just keep figuring out how to make more. And that's what I still live by today, because I can't control. If you're by yourself, it's easy to manage your own money because you know what you're spending. But to this day, I don't know what she's spending. I don't know what my kids are spending. So I always have to manage it based on an assumption of what they're going to spend, because I don't really know for a fact. I always find out later, and sometimes we have discussions about it, but I still have to pay it. It still has to be
Heated
paid.
discussions.
Yeah,
But that's not true. I tell you everything.
right.
But
As she clears her throat.
but I think like Patrick is an extreme saver with money. Like he loves to save money, and
I think you definitely have to save money.
I'm not an extreme with it. That's where my logic comes in, because you and I had this discussion recently. Like, look at what's going on with our world today. If you don't have something to fall back on, these problems grow exponentially and they grow fast. So you have to have something in reserve. And I've just always wanted to have, when we had the dance studio, and I lost everything with the dance studio, I never wanted to feel that feeling again in my life. And that was just 6-7 years ago when I felt that. So it wasn't a long time ago. And it's fresh in my mind. I don't ever want to do that again, ever. I never want to feel that feeling in my stomach where I was miserable. I couldn't sleep. So my whole thing now is always have at least 6 months to a year in reserve minimum, no matter what happens. So you have something to fall back on, because it just clears your head. It makes you feel better when hard times come, that you're going to be okay. You feel like, okay, I've done this before. I've weathered this storm, but now I have some financial backing where I can maybe make better decisions to get out of this hole faster, because I don't have to dwell on this debt, this being broke.
Which is actually really true. And I feel like, it's our life. So us together and having gone through that, having nothing, then having something, and then losing it, and then back to now where we have saved money, and it feels so much different. I have to say.
It's way different.
It's a totally better feeling.
And then it's all, they always say you need money to make money.
Mhm.
And, that's a lot of people hear that their whole lives, but they don't really grasp what that really means. And what that means in my world is people come to me with opportunity all the time, but to take advantage of the opportunity, you got to have capital. You got to have money.
Right.
That's why I always tell people, you give me a couple $1 million, I'll double and triple in the next few years and give you your money back plus interest. But a lot of people don't know someone well enough to give them that chance. That's a big risk for somebody. And even if I flip the coin, I wouldn't do it for somebody else. So I've always learned, we've had a lot of friends that were very wealthy that never really gave me an opportunity when we were struggling and broke. So I had to go learn and figure it all out. And then once I figured it out, I'm by no means where I want to be. I'm never content with what I want to do, but I know that I'm okay. Like with this tough time coming through our country right now, I know that we're going to be okay. I'm not stressed out or worried about it. I don't care who's in office right now. It's not going to affect my personal household on how I'm going to go through the next year.
Right.
Because we're okay. But it took a long time to get to that point.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen overnight.
Yeah.
That's the peace of mind of having that cash, is that, it doesn't matter what happens, that you have yourself covered, so you don't have that stress of thinking about that day to day all the time.
It is the
it
worst
may be here
feeling.
and there, but
It's a sad thing that nowadays there's a lot of Americans and a lot of people in the world, not just in America, that are kind of dependent on somebody else's decisions to give them maybe a stimulus or a bailout package. And I never wanted to have my household dependent on someone else making a decision for my family. I didn't want to live that way, because if that decision doesn't fall to the right side where it helps me, now we're in even bigger trouble. So you can't rely on those things. And being married is the same way. You have to plan for things like kids get sick, your wife, your husband, things come up that you just have to have some kind of safety net.
Yeah.
And if you don't, it's just more problems. It's more stress. And it goes back to what we talked about before. You can't sleep, your anxiety's up, and then you start making worse decisions because you're not thinking clearly. So it's a spiral effect. Before you know it, it's not good. You're in a bad position. It just gets worse.
I just don't even find it attractive if a guy is not good with money.
I know. That makes it everything worse.
Yeah.
What are your views on spending money?
Me personally, I mean, I don't like buying myself anything.
I hate that. I wish you would buy yourself stuff.
I never buy myself anything. I know it sounds weird and people think I'm a little crazy, but I just wanted my family to have better than what I grew up with. So all I do is I work, and whenever my kids or wife want something, I usually just get it for them, because I couldn't do that when I was younger. So I always wanted them to have better, and I don't need anything. I can get by with nothing. I mean, if I need it, I already have it.
I know. I always talk about that. It's like, God, a bar of soap and a shirt, and he's fine. I'm like, but I don't want that, because then I feel guilty if I want something.
Start buying something.
I mean, but that comes out equally, because that is what he wants, what he needs. You know what I mean?
You're
like
right.
your needs and his needs are completely different.
Yeah,
right.
It can be met in the same way with different.
The only place I like to spend my money more than anything is entertaining with my family or travel.
Yeah.
That's where I like to spend. And when we do those, we go to the top. I don't like to do it halfway. Gabrielle for sure doesn't like doing it halfway or low. So it's usually the best wherever we go, and that's where I want to spend my money. But you have to manage for that too. It's like, I know these trips are expensive that we're going to take, so I have to manage for it
It's always
properly.
more than what is expected.
It's always quite a bit more than what expected. I always
are
have a
the
number in my head, and it's
Best
always
memories.
blows way past that.
Those
Yeah,
are the best
traveling is the
memories.
best money spent, if I could give any advice. I think it's better than any car, any designer clothes.
Oh my gosh,
I
yeah.
mean, I think,
For sure.
I would never. I don't need another designer. Anything.
no, I
if
don't
I
care.
just don't want the trip.
Just travel.
And you look at trips as an investment in the show, because y'all always come back with good stories.
Right.
That's true.
Right.
We're going to Mexico.
Yeah, for Christmas.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. If we both want something but can't afford both, what do we do then?
You just discuss in my personal opinion, I would just let you have what you want in my house. I mean, that's how I would do it. I mean, like I said, I don't
He's
really
the
need
best
much.
husband.
I don't need much. I just don't. I mean, I'm not into material things that much. So.
But I mean, we do really in real life. We do make these decisions together, and it's like, if you need a car, then
right.
you get a new car, and we
Right.
talk about what that is, or
Right.
like right
She tells
now.
me what to buy, and I go get it.
Yeah, but the car you have now is very
and
good.
I did talk him
But
into
she
that
told me to
one.
buy that one too.
Yeah, but it's awesome.
So
But
like
I want him to have nice things too. So
Mhm. I think it's
It makes
weird
me
if
happy.
a guy spends so much on themselves and doesn't ever like.
Well,
Yeah.
more often than not, that's to impress someone else.
right.
True. But then if it's so much, like a girlfriend of mine and her fiance, he would spend so much money on himself, like constantly buying clothes and stuff, and never would even offer her anything. She said so unattractive.
Yeah, that's not good. Kind of sad.
And he had a lot of money.
Girls like gifts, you know.
Yeah.
It just makes it even more complicated when if a guy comes from a single lifestyle and is used to spending that kind of money, and then he gets into a relationship, it's hard to break old habits. So if he's just used to spending on himself and now he's got a girlfriend, that's not going to change. But now he may not be in a position to spend that same kind of money he's used to spending on himself now for two.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that comes into the discussions before you get serious with someone. You got to have these financial talks
Yeah,
and
this
see
is
where
why-
it stands.
This is why this is so
'Cause-
important.
Again, that's a one-way trip to divorce town.
Yeah.
Mhm. How well do you budget?
I hate that thought.
I don't budget anything. I
hate even seeing people do it.
I know how much our monthly nut is, and I know how much. I mean, I'm self-employed, so I never know how much I'm going to make that month. But I try to put as much of that. I pay all the monthly bills and then pay for
See,
the
I think
trips.
that is so cool too, because I've never, before I met Patrick, I'd never seen anyone do it. And I remember before we were married, like we would go have coffee or something, and he would take a piece of paper and then he would write down all the bills and everything. Sorry, it's always me. This is our new neighbor. And he would write all this down, and I found it so amazing because I don't think, like, when you're not good with money, which I'm not, I'm going to admit it, and I don't think I'd ever seen all the numbers for what they were and how it adds up. And then he was always so matter of fact about it, going, well, this is what we need to make just to pay the bills, and then everything extra is, then we can do this. But it was never so like rigid. It was just showing me what we needed. And it was kind of crazy because it made me think so differently about all of it. And that's how he does it. Like every month, it's just kind of like,
Well, I think that's even what we did when I was getting my first apartment. It was you had to write everything that was your bills, and then
Right.
anything extra is extra. But that's
That's
what
the
you get.
first part of trying to learn or teach money management. You have to know, what you're spending every month. If you don't, like I'll ask people sometimes, they'll ask me for help with something financial, and I'll say, well, how much is your monthly bills? And they'll say, I don't know. And I'll say, well, that's the first problem, because that's why you don't know what you can manage. You don't know what's left over to manage,
right.
because you have no idea how much you spend a month. I don't know how much I spend a month, but I know what my hard costs are: car payments, mortgages,
Yeah.
business
what is
rent.
absolutely going
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be spent.
I know my for sure's.
Yeah.
I don't know my extras are off the cuff buying, going out to
Yeah.
dinner. I have no idea what those numbers are, but I know what my hard numbers are. And based on those hard numbers, I know exactly when I'm going to get in trouble if we spend too much that month.
Yeah.
So it's just, that's the first step to anything. You have to know what your monthly nut is. And to be honest with you, I don't even keep that number anymore. As soon as the bill shows up at my house, most people, I used to stack them and then pay them at the end of the month. As soon as I open the mail, I get on my phone, I pay it, and I throw the bill in the trash. Because then I don't have to
So
worry
amazing.
about ever missing a payment. I don't have to worry about, oh my God, did I make my car payment this month? As soon as the thing shows up in the mail, I open it up, see how much it is, pay it on my phone, and throw it in the trash. And it's done. I don't have to worry about it again. And since I've started doing that, it just has made keeping up with it even easier. Because I don't have to think about it. It's not over my head for like 30 days. Like, holy crap, did I pay my mortgage? Like, I pay, which payments did I pay? Which ones did I pay? You just pay them as soon as they show up and move on. Now, it's hard to do that sometimes because you may not be in a position financially yet where you can do that. So you have to manage properly. You have to wait for your next paycheck to come in to maybe cover this light bill or cover this water bill. But eventually, when you learn how to manage money, I always, like with my son Gino, I would tell him, take your paycheck and put 10, and I used to tell it with Marcella too, 10 to 15, even 20% goes straight into an account you never touch. Don't ever touch it. Just pretend it doesn't exist. And they did it for a long time, and it works because then when something comes up that's unexpected, you're okay. You don't feel stressed out. You're like, oh my God, I got my reserve money over here that I never really missed it. Because let's face it, if you spend an extra $150 a month, do you really miss it? I mean, we all go out to eat. We pull in through a fast food place. We pull into Starbucks, $5, $10, $15 here or there. And at the end of the month, that's really a few $100s, but are you really missing it?
Yeah.
So what if you can just take that same amount of money and just throw it into an account you never touch, because you never miss it. You don't ever really feel like it's gone.
Right.
But it's not a big enough number. And those little numbers will add up. And before you know it, you'll have a decent savings account.
Yeah. I had a good one.
You will have another
I
good
know.
one again soon. But I think the most important part for me, and I had to learn that a lot, because when you don't know money and when you don't understand it, I mean, you just, in my former life, like I just had credit cards and I didn't even really understand when you spend it, like what happens. Like you just give the card, right? I mean, it's true. But
Never
That's
ending.
99% of the population.
right. And so
Still thinks that way.
But so I think it's important that before you get married, you need to make sure you're on the same team. Like I always say that we're on the same team, and I don't want a credit card for that reason, because I don't want to just go out and spend and blah blah blah. I really think it through these days. I've changed a lot, but life is so much better that way when we're careful about it.
It's so
like,
much easier to
truthfully.
just give someone a piece of plastic than it is to count out money.
Yeah.
When you really have to count it out and hand it to them, you're like, damn.
Yeah, it's true.
Exactly. It's kind of that's how I tell people a lot of times to learn how to manage their spending better is actually use cash, because it's hard to hand over cash.
Yep.
Because you're seeing a physical leaving of your wallet into somebody else's hands. Credit card, it's just kind of out of sight, out of mind type of thing. It's just numbers rolling on a piece of paper. You don't even really contemplate what it means
Right.
until that bill shows up. You're like, holy crap, I spent this much this month. I didn't even realize it. But that's the thing. You're spending so fast, so freely, because you're not handing cash over. You're just handing a piece of plastic. It means nothing.
Yeah, with a stack of cash, you can see the end.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Smaller.
Exactly.
Do you feel it's important to save for retirement?
I do. I'm kind of mixed on that, because
You're never retiring.
I'll probably never retire.
Yeah.
And, I'd like to get to the point where I love the work. So it's when people ask me what I like to do, I like to work. I like the challenge of making money. I like trying to do that. So retirement to me is different, where I will never stop working, but I want to work because I want to, not because I have to. And there's a big difference. But as far as retirement, we've been having this discussion a lot lately, because, we all think we're invincible, but as we start getting older and you start getting, like, my job and my businesses are physical. So I don't know how many more years I can do what I do. So I'm always planning and doing other things that aren't quite so physical, but you need capital to do those things. So as far as saving for retirement, I always tell people, and a lot of people ask me all the time, what do you have for retirement? What's your retirement plan? And I always tell them, it's me. I'm my retirement plan. I'm managing my money. I'm managing my business decisions, because I don't know what somebody else is thinking. So I don't want to give them my money to manage for me. I know what I'm thinking. I'm responsible for my own decision making. So if I make a bad decision, it's my fault. If I lose money, it's my fault. I'm my retirement. I'm going to build up my nest egg. And then obviously I do put money in stuff to make me more money, but it's not always a huge chunk of my savings or my retirement that I already have saved. It's always, I'm trying to get it to leverage it to make me more money, but I don't really focus on that much. I just know I'm always going to work.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to get a second job if we had financial problems?
Of course, I've done it before.
Yeah.
I
would
have
hope.
to work multiple jobs, period. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
I can't do the same thing all day, every day.
Me too, Spider.
I know of people, though, this is a real thing, like throughout, with friends and stuff like that. I've seen many times when someone got laid off from their job or whatever, then suddenly they are completely lost. They don't even know what to do, where to turn next. And husbands get depressed and they sit on the couch and they can't even fathom doing something that's beneath them or whatever. And that's a real problem.
I
And you
could not
have
be
to talk
attracted to
about
that.
No.
I think a lot of that is people that work for other people.
Probably,
That's what
yes.
Like,
that's
when you're-
exactly
when
what
you're
it
doing
is.
your own thing, it's
Mhm.
like you have to get out there and get back on the horse.
Mhm.
Or you're
True.
screwed.
But
Spider,
sometimes
that's so true.
and that makes total sense. But sometimes if you're working and doing your own thing and do lose everything and you have to start over, which has happened to me 3 times,
Oh yeah.
sometimes you do have to go work for somebody else
Right, to
to
get
make
started.
ends meet, so you don't lose everything in the process of rebuilding. And that's where people, Gabrielle was just talking about, they don't want, they think it's beneath them to go work for somebody. Like, I've been self-employed for 25 years now. I still would go work for somebody else if I had to. If I got into a position where I had to, and I've done it. When Jolie was still not even born yet, I had to go back to Ohio and run a jackhammer. I didn't want to, but I needed to make money.
What is that saying? The pride before the fall or fall?
Right.
What is that called? Like you're so
Pride comes before the fall.
Yeah. So you're so prideful. Like I feel like guys should do whatever it takes, especially men.
Yeah, and that came up on the last show. When
Yeah,
we were
that's
talking
true.
about, people have the opportunity to go take a job at McDonald's if they really need money, but they don't want to,
Yeah.
Well, they think it's not cool. They think that, people are going to laugh at them, but
bottom line is it's putting money in your pocket.
Yeah.
True.
go ahead.
I was so impressed with, ever since this COVID started, I started getting into Instacart. I order Instacart for groceries. And when they come deliver, most of the time I ask them, like, how long have you been doing it? What do you think about it? And I will never forget this one lady that came. She's this Black single mom who had worked from home, got laid off. And she said, I decided to do Instacart as a job, like 40 hours a week. And she said she made herself a goal number for each day, like say she would not stop until she made $250. And she had saved, I think it was the first 3 months of COVID, she had saved in her savings account $11,000.
Wow.
That's with paying all the bills, taking care of her children. And I was like so impressed by that, thinking how many people are not doing that and are feeling sorry for themselves instead of looking at that as an option, which today is amazing, I feel like.
Absolutely.
I think it is so amazing that we are in the time we are now, and then there's the option to drive for Uber Eats, Favor, Postmates, Amazon, whatever's Instacart. Like those are, and I feel like you're kind of working for yourself. You're driving around, sorta. I mean, you're just getting somebody's groceries and delivering
for the most part, you can at least make your own hours.
Yeah, and you don't have a boss.
I mean, I'm a firm believer in America. If you are saying you can't find a job, you're not looking.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, you can find but again, the pride.
Right.
Yeah.
Spider said earlier, it's like people don't want to work for somebody else, but would you rather starve?
Right.
I mean, what are your options? Would you rather have to go move in with your parents, move in your car? I mean, it's something that you have to swallow that pride, and you have to know going in, this isn't permanent. This is a temporary fix so I can get back on my feet, get my head straightened out, get my bills paid so I can make the good decisions.
Which is always respectable. Right. I did see a really funny quote on TikTok, and it said, because I'm always on there, but it said, I never heard a crackhead say, I ain't got no money, so I ain't smoking today. They always find a way, so you're going to let a crackhead out hustle you today.
Wow, that's pretty cool, though.
I was like,
That's true.
So funny. They always figure out a way.
Yeah, if you really want it, you'll
figure it
out.
out.
To do it.
Well, there's the old saying that money isn't, if people's, they call it a have to, what's your drive, and always says money, but it's not money, because if it was money, you'd have it. It's like the old saying, the guy says, I need $5,000. I can't come up with it. And you say, well, think about it this way. If your loved one was going to die by Friday,
you'd figure
if you didn't have $5,000, the money is now not the object. The loved one is. You'll find that money, but it's just a different mindset.
They also say in like when you're going through a divorce or after divorce for child support, if the ex-husband doesn't pay it, then you go to court, and then there's this one room where the judge is, and it's like the last step, and they call it the money tree room because they say there's a money tree outside the room.
Oh, because they somehow figured it out.
Yes. It's so funny. The court calls it that. It's really hilarious.
So before they went in there, they had no money, and then suddenly,
because they have to go to jail.
Weird.
Before they go to jail.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Let me go get that money.
Somehow.
Yeah.
I think I left a little bit under my mattress.
It's so cool.
Now that you're saying that.
Jail? Oh, wait.
Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like some people just have to be backed into a corner before they act.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
What if a family member wants to borrow a large sum of money?
I thought we talked about that one last time, didn't we? No? I thought we did.
Well, I've had that, and it never ends well. Let's put it that way.
Right.
I mean, I've learned how to let it go, and I've since stopped. Me and Gabrielle talk about all the time. We just won't lend anymore because, in my eyes, it's never lending; it's giving.
Yeah.
And my philosophy was, and I've had this discussion with people. You're the greatest person in the world when you're giving it. When you're lending it, they love you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I couldn't. You're a lifesaver.
How dare you ask for it back?
And my whole thing was, okay, but I don't want to be a jerk if I have to ask for it back. If you're telling me you're going to give me by this date, I'm going to lend you this money and I'm the greatest guy today. But if I have to ask for it back after that date, now I'm a dick. Now I'm an asshole. Now you're a MFer and all this other. And I'm like, I don't want that. So I've had that happen to me almost every time I've lended money because I always had to ask for it. And I've lended out tens of thousands of dollars through the years, and I just won't do it anymore because you end up becoming the bad guy. You're the savior today, you're the enemy tomorrow.
It's really cool to teach your children that too, like young children. We just had this discussion with our youngest Jolie the other day because, she's a teenager. She's 16 years old and stuff comes up and they want to do things. And this happened to be just a couple of weekends back to back with a lot of things going on, like a Fright Fest for Six Flags and a Halloween party. And then it was going to be something else. And then it was going to be haunted house. And we finally said, that's enough. Like there's so much money being spent. And she got an attitude.
Right.
And so Patrick used that same analogy on her.
Oh, yeah.
And that was really, really cool. I thought it's a great teaching tool for children.
Yeah, because you're the best, got the best dad in the world mug in front of you when you're always giving. But once you say no, the mug gets shattered on the floor. It's like, what about you forgot? You forgot about all the other stuff. Don't negate that. That was all part of me giving also.
Right.
So there comes a time where you have to put your foot down because humans want stuff all the time. I mean, kids want things. Anything they see they want, they think they can just ask and get. But eventually a parent has to put their foot down or you create a spoiled brat. That's not a good thing for society either.
Well, I think though, if my brother or sister was struggling, I wouldn't. My husband could not tell me I can't help though. Like, and obviously it comes with past and what's going on. Like I wouldn't not be like, no, I'm sorry, Jolie.
Yeah, but the
You're on
problem
your
is you're talking about a one-time event.
Yeah.
Right? But when it becomes a habit for the brother or sister you become their crutch.
Right.
Mhm.
You become their bank account.
Yeah.
And that's where I finally had to say enough's enough.
Yeah.
Because they're not doing anything. Because what happens is they don't have any reason to change or to go try to find the money themselves because like, well, Marcella will just give it to me. So, I mean, she did it for me last 3 times. And if I really need it, I'm going to go try to get a job today. I'm tired. It's cold outside. I don't want to get dressed. I'll just ask Marcella. She'll take care of me. And before you know it, it's a habit.
True.
And now it's every month, every week.
And it's easier every single time for them to ask.
Right. And
Oh,
the
that's
first
true.
time they might have been a little nervous about it and like a little timid.
Oh yeah, I
But
didn't
every time they do it, it gets worse and worse. And they're like, hey, give me some money.
That's true.
And then before you know it, the one day when you've had enough, now
There's a problem.
you're the jerk.
Now we did talk about that, but
Yeah.
that was different subject. For
Gotcha.
something
You're not the
else.
great sister anymore.
Who will take care of the financial matters of the household?
Who will?
Mm-hmm. Like this is before you get married.
Is that
That's
bills?
the question.
I mean, I'm old fashioned. I think a guy, I don't want you to pay for anything.
No.
So, but I mean, it's just the discussion has to be had. I mean, it's something you need to talk about. I mean, I'm different than most people. I don't see things how a lot of people see them. I don't know. I may be strange, but I just always thought my job is to take care of my family and to try to do my best for them not to struggle. I'm not saying give them everything, but I don't want them to struggle. Like but some struggle's good, but I mean like really struggle. Like I'm not going to let my child starve to death.
Or be homeless.
Right. You always hear the kids come and say, I'm starving. It's like, you're not starving. I've been starving before. You're not starving. I promise you.
Well, I'm just so happy you handle all of it because I'm not good at it, and you have actually taught me to be a lot better with it. And so I think the most important thing is to be a team.
I mean,
And you have
outside
to
of
agree.
even outside of finances, a good relationship foundation is on talking. You have to think, it's not only just about money, it's about a lot of things. You just have to talk to your significant other about things.
Right.
Things come up every day that you and her are not going to agree on.
Right.
I promise you. So if it's not just money.
No, but in that one more thing with the money together, I think is so important. Like I see some people that are like, they don't care. Like they just spend whatever and they have not even a thought. Like the whole thing of, yes, figure out how to make more. I think that is a great philosophy. But at the same time, for me as a wife, I also don't want there to be so much stress on my husband.
You have to be
That is like-
respectful.
right,
I mean, it
and-
can be a little bit ridiculous.
Right. And so for me, it's like the life that he's providing is like really amazing for us. And we live such a good life and we have no stress. I mean, obviously we've gone through stress before, but he always tries to make no stress. So I try to be respectful and not just go and spend like a crazy person like I see
Right.
others do, which then I actually worry about other people's husbands that I see where I'm going, my goodness, like that needs to stop. And there's several examples that I see, or vice versa, a
Right.
wife. So I think that's important that you hold that respect for each other.
Yeah, we see it every day. It's just not our place to say something in someone else's relationship.
Right.
It has to be the man or the woman's job to sit down and we've got to talk. We have to discuss this because this isn't going to end well for either of us or our families. So, I mean, when I've lost everything a couple times. So I'm a risk taker and I always will be. I've just learned how to manage better, not take. Back then, when you don't have a lot, you have to risk a lot. So now you can take more calculated risks where you don't risk it all.
Yeah.
But back then you have to risk it. Well, I did. I would risk a lot just to try to get ahead. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But the times it didn't, Gabrielle and I would discuss that. And I would say, hey, I fucked up. This wasn't a good decision. Again, I talked about before, I'm responsible for those decisions. And if they affect us, they affect us. But her and I, we would have those discussions and she would say, all right. And she would mind the spending. She would back it down. She would make sure to not put more stress on me while I tried to rebuild again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a discussion. It has to be talked about.
I think that's super important, like, because, we're really close with our older kids, Marcella and Gino, and like we love to do things. And sometimes we take them out to dinner or we take them on vacations. And then when we were struggling, I would just cook and they'd come over and it would be just at the house. And we still had the same stuff going on, just in a different way.
Right.
Where we really were careful about spending.
You can do a lot with a family without, you don't need millions of dollars to have a good household. You just have to learn how to do other things that are fun and exciting for the family. Like we did all that. We have game nights and hanging out, watching TV. I mean, it was just being cohesive as a family is important.
Very important. On that note, I think when you go through all these steps before marriage, I think you get to a common ground. And
is that everything
important.
now?
That's
Are we
everything.
done?
Yeah.
No, we're
so
done.
we got to go to Miss Polly.
But is that all the marriage checklist?
No.
Oh,
goodness.
that's what I meant.
I
We're
told
like
you
not
that's
even
that's
halfway
going to
through.
be like 12 parts.
Okay, good.
All right, let's do it.
It's time to party with Miss Polly. The modern day Dr. Rude.
I've never even heard of this. What is mermaiding and is it sexual?
I'm going to say yes just off the name. But
Right?
I'm going to look it up.
I'm not sure, but Miss Polly
Inspired,
says,
text me when you know.
well, Miss Polly says
I have no idea
there
what that
are
is.
several different definitions to mermaiding. However, I think the one you are referring to is the one from How I Met Your Mother, the TV show also known as the mermaid effect, which means that the more time a man spends with a woman, the more he will find her sexually attractive, even if he initially finds her unattractive.
That's true.
We have a situation like that in our
That's
life.
100%
We know someone.
true.
You're saying that's true, like that happens?
Absolutely.
I could see
Can I
that.
say that again?
It's happening to me right now.
What?
Yeah.
The more
Stop.
someone you're not initially attracted to because
But the more you spend time with them, the more you find them sexually attractive. I
Really,
guess
Spider?
that's personality.
Yeah, y'all know her too.
well, it's emotion.
Woo-hoo.
From the old building.
Oh, yeah.
Like I was not at all sexually attracted to her when we met. And like she's about the only person I've hung out with during COVID. And it's like, God damn.
Wow.
I've watched my own brain like change. Yeah.
Really?
So it has to be that you get stimulated by the personality
Yeah.
starts.
No, for
Yeah, it's
sure.
emotion
Who they are.
for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Because there's also people you can be attracted to initially, and then you get to know them, and you're like, why are you not that pretty anymore? Because your personality sucks,
Yeah.
or you're a bitch. You know what I
It's
mean?
true.
So I guess it could be
Right.
Yeah,
the
either way.
opposite.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Beauty doesn't last forever.
No. Somebody in our friendship circle, actually,
Oh boy.
this happened too. There is someone that met someone and was not attracted at all, and then said he's getting used to the face, and then now they're married.
He actually said those words.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if that's good to say that out loud.
What's the
I'm
inside?
actually starting to get used to her face. Wow.
That's really funny.
How many beers did it take?
All right, question of the day.
The two posh girls ask the question of the day.
Okay. When you ask yourself over and over, is this guy worth it? Is he worth it?
Give Miss Polly's answer.
Miss Polly says no. If you're asking yourself over and over, the answer is definitely not.
It's I saw this yesterday. Someone
saw it on
saying
TikTok.
that if you have to ask yourself over and over, then it's absolutely not the right person, and that sometimes people don't leave because they're afraid to be alone. So they stay with that person and always ask themselves, is it the right person? Is this the right person?
Yeah,
So
it's tough.
It's kind of like getting a job as a waitress. It's like, I'm just going to do this for a little bit. And next thing you know, 10 years go by and you're still bringing coffee to people. So,
Marcella.
What?
I mean, I didn't want to throw any names out there.
Spider, thank you.
Patrick was saying coffee.
I mean,
Spider just said my name.
I didn't want to take a direct
It's
shot, but
alright.
thanks, Spider. Yep. So, yeah, it's a
Fair.
weird thing to, but that falls back to what we talked about earlier. People will settle because
Mhm.
of they think they're going to
I
miss
haven't done
out,
that,
or
No, thank God you have not done
No.
yeah, you haven't.
that. On that note, you guys, this was a great show. Everyone, make sure you ask those questions before you get married.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
thank you so much
important.
for
Thank
listening.
you.
Follow us on all platforms, subscribe, send us messages, and please write reviews. And don't forget about our YouTube channel and TikTok and everything else. Thank you for
Yay.
listening.